Property Accountant, brought to you by Google's Bookkeepers. If you enjoy the content, please do subscribe, like and share the channel. So what we're going to look at today is just property accounts, property bookkeeping, because there are a lot of questions surrounding this. So let me just give you a quick overview and why this is like a specific topic in itself. So when it comes to property, real estate, bookkeeping, it is very important that you keep a track of your spending. And not just in property, but just regardless of the industry, very important that you do keep a track of all your spending. Focusing on property today, particularly because when you do refurbs, if you're doing a refurb and a refinance, you want to really keep a track of your spending. Because there'll be lots of little things that you will be buying, and you want to keep an eye on the project and make sure that things came in according to budget. In this case, I really would advise getting a software of some sort. You can track your receipts, snap and go, so you can scan your receipts into the software. Really will make your life a lot easier. It's useful to be aware of which projects are costing the most and or bringing in the most revenue. So let's say you've got 10 houses. You can, with software, track each house as a project to a separate code so that you can see how much revenue that project or that house brought you in and how much that project has cost you. So very important to be able to do that. And also so that you can keep track of tenants' payments, because if you're self-managing your own portfolio, very important, you want to make sure people are paying you on time. Likewise, even if you've got a lettings agent, you can't always trust that the lettings agent is honest enough with you and is going to pay you over the monies, because they sometimes don't have very good systems themselves, and I tell you this from experience. So do keep an eye on your lettings agents. Also very important in the UK is to be aware of the coming changes. So you may be familiar with a thing called MTD, which is Making Tax Digital, and that's already in effect, but they are going to be spreading it, widening it, encompassing more people into MTD. So if you're in the property game, let me just explain to you how this is likely to affect you in the near future. So there is a plan to require all records in digital format, not just for property people, but for everyone. But as with everything, they tiptoe with these things and install things in steps, so step by step. So the plan is to require all records in digital format, and it's going to be phased in. So we started with, it started with VAT registered companies. And if you apply for a VAT registration number now, you are going to be enrolled in this Making Tax Digital thing. There's no options. It has been phased in, but as of April 2022, it's going to be a requirement. They're going to insist on it that anyone, all companies, regardless of your turnover, if you are VAT registered from April 2020, they want their VAT return to be submitted digitally using a software. Now, the end goal when it comes to landlords is that they, as in the government, HMRC, want you to keep digital records of property income and expenses on a registered tax software. And eventually, this is the end goal, is that they want you to submit a summary directly to HMRC every quarter. They'll know who you are through whether you report, how you report on your, for the self-employed, if you fill out the property pages, and for limited companies, what your SIC code is, your standard industry classification of your limited company. So they'll know who is in property, and that's their end goal. So there's a saying that when the law changes, the future changes. This legislation is being phased in, it's being passed, so your future is going to change. So be aware and get ready. Now, who is it going to affect? So MTD for income tax is for UK landlords who usually submit a self-assessment tax return. And it is a requirement for anyone with more than £10,000 of combined turnover from business and property income. So that's going to be more or less everyone. So what this will affect is all those people filling in a tax return with the property pages, even if it's a property and it's £5,000 a month, but you've got other income, you're still going to be swept up in all of this. So when is it all going to happen? When does MTD for income tax come into effect? Because remember, for VAT, it's already underway. For income tax, making tax digital for income tax comes into effect from the 6th of April 2023. So be thinking about software, how you're going to start your processes, and just getting ready for it. Don't wait for it to come upon you and then panic, because it will be here before you know it. Now, it's possible to voluntarily register for MTD for income tax before then, which will allow you to get ahead of the game and familiarise yourself with the MTD process. But I can imagine for a lot of people, they don't want to put themselves out there before they really have to, but just have that date put down in your diary. Now, if you're using tax software, bookkeeping software, now it can actually save you a lot of money, I think, and a lot of time on accounting fees. And it will provide you with a summary of your profit and loss account, as well as real-time estimates of your tax liability. So don't just wait for the deadline, because software really does make your life easier. So sooner you implement it, the better, really. So don't feel forced into doing it. It will actually make your business smoother. Now, property, there are different kinds of accountants, and one with knowledge of property is useful in the UK, particularly because of the amount of legislation that the government keep coming out with. You need, ideally and preferably, an accountant who is keeping up to date with all of these changes and how you can mitigate and avoid losses or prepare yourself for the future. So it is useful to have an accountant who is somewhat familiar, perhaps even if they invest themselves. Just recent examples of the UK government moving the goalposts is their introduction of Section 24, recent stamp duty changes, just in general, property accountants good for tax efficiency and for tax planning. There are a lot of people who are thinking of how, for future planning, how are you going to pass any property down to whoever you want to pass it down to, how you can sell it without incurring a huge tax bill, is it worth selling? All of these things, it all requires tax planning. When someone understands what it is you're trying to achieve, they can advise you accordingly and save you time and help you structure things in the right vehicle and in the right way. So any other questions, please do email in admin@booglesltd.com. If it's been useful, subscribe, like and share the channel. So just upcoming legislation, always useful to just know what's on the horizon and prepare yourself accordingly.